Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. Today is the 27th of March 2023, and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of our show. We will begin with the movement by the Sikhs across the world, and in particular nowadays in Canada is gaining momentum. We've seen the referendum that is going on for Khalistan as well, and another part of that referendum is going to be held in Sydney in the later months of this year as well. Now, this has irked the Indian government to no end. Also, there has been a huge protest by the supporters of Amritpal Singh in Vancouver in Canada, and as a reaction to that, the Canadian High Commissioner in India has been called by the Indian government for an explanation as to why people were allowed to breach security of India's diplomatic missions and consulates. This is going to be our leading story. Amritpal Singh, his movement, and the followers that he is gaining with every passing day, and of course the reaction by the Indian government. Will they be able to stop this movement for the creation of Khalistan and more? This is part of our first story. Our second story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Saudi Arabia, that has condemned Friday's burning of the Quran and the Turkish flag by extremists in Denmark. We'll be calling them Islamophobic extremists because, of course, this concerns something against the religion, that is Islam. Jordan, Kuwait and Qatar have also joined the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the protest against the desecration of the Holy Quran. This has been going on for quite some time now in these countries, and without any justification whatsoever. And the first and foremost thing is that this is against the basic rules of Islam, being a holy book, and then burning the holy book and the Turkish flag as well. This is going to be our second segment, Islamophobia and the fight against it. Then we'll be talking about the rise in COVID-19 cases in Pakistan that we're seeing since the last few days. The National Institute of Health has said on Sunday that one death has been reported in Sindh in the last 24 hours. The positivity ratio is increasing. It's slowly and steadily going towards 2.52%, and the number of cases as per the information we've received is increasing with every passing day, and this is a cause of concern specifically for Pakistan, because we've combated COVID in the past. We need to combat it again by taking the necessary standard operating procedures. Then we'll be talking about Tunisia's Coast Guard that has also said yesterday that the bodies of 29 migrants from African countries had been recovered after 3 vessels had been capsized. This is the latest in such tragedies, and we have been seeing since quite some time such boats that have been capsizing, and the death of these migrants as a result of that. Illegal migration is a huge point of concern that the world needs to tackle, but with sensitivity. Let's come to our first segment, and that concerns Amritpal Singh, his movement for Khalistan, and the reaction by the Indian government. The following report.
Indian assault on democratic values and civil liberties continues, and minorities are being persistently hounded under Narendra Modi government. For decades, Indian Sikhs have demanded that an independent nation called Khalistan be carved in the state of Punjab for followers of the minority faith. As Sikhs have come under attack from hardline Hindutva supporters in India, Khalistan movement is gaining momentum. Hundreds of supporters of Sikh activist Amritpal Singh demanded an independent Sikh state in an unprecedented Sikh independence demonstration outside Indian Mission headquarters in Vancouver, Canada. Baffled by success of Khalistan referendum, police in India's Punjab are conducting an operation to arrest Sikh preacher Amritpal Singh. The northern state of Punjab has meanwhile experienced mobile internet cuts and a ban on gatherings of more than 4 people in some parts. Last week, Sikhs participated in a huge protest at India High Commission in London, where protesters gathered to denounce the police action in Punjab. Holding Khalistan banners, protesters took down an Indian flag from a balcony of the commission. Another Sikh protest outside the Indian consulate in San Francisco denounced Indian government's ongoing operation to arrest Sikh activist Amritpal Singh. Khalistan is the name of an independent Sikh homeland that Sikh community aspires to carve out owing of decades of marginalization in Hindu-majority India.
Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi joins us online. Hamid, thank you very much to have joined us and to discuss this very important issue, that is the rise of the Sikh movement, not only in India but also across the world. Do you feel what is happening as far as Amritpal Singh and his movement is concerned, and the followers that he is gaining with every passing day, is it a cause of concern for India? Do you feel that the Indians will be able to curb the movement this time?
Thank you very much, Omar. Yes, is very much concerning for India, and it is, they have to understand it's not a new movement. It is the movement started in 70s, and then we have saw that what they did in Darbar Sahib and in Amritsar operation, Blue Star operation, and everything. And this Amrit Pal Singh has become a symbol of freedom and for the Khalistan all over the world for the Sikhs. We have seen, we are talking about uh, prior referendum in Birmingham and well last year. So, I mean, the Indian government has tried their best to press uh, Sikhs, marginal Sikhs, and they have been figuring how the Sikhs have understood that the only solution for their is an independent state, Pakistan, and the Khalistan movement has been faced by so many, you countries of way or the Canada is one who has not recognizing Pakistan after they are about the right Sikhs in India. But India needs to understand they are trying to suppress the Kashmir, suppress the Khalistan movement and other movement. This is what I have been saying for last few years that the way India is, moving forward with this Hindutva ideology, this will result into the breaking up India into many countries because Hindutva ideology does not allow any other religion to practice freely in the India, and that is the biggest cause when there is an extremist government is in place, a right wing extremist Hindutva ideology government is in place, there is a very less margin for the other communities or religions to survive.
How is the world responding to this Sikh resistance led by Amritpal Singh?
To be honest, as they have done with other movements, they are not openly recognizing it or they are not supporting it a lot, but they do understand that the Sikhs all over the world are gathering it and united about this matter. And if there will be anything against human rights, against Amrit Pal Singh, there will be more reaction from the European Union and from the rest of the world. But so far, Canada has openly supported, and they say that it is under the freedom of speech, under the human rights, they have all the right to do their protest and ask for the demand of the Khalistan. And we have seen they have done it in Australia. They are going to do it in other countries as well. They are planning to do it in front of European Union headquarters in Brussels. So I mean the movement is rising every day, and Amrit Pal Singh have become a symbol of freedom and liberty for Khalistan.
What could be the consequences in case Amritpal Singh is caught, apprehended, or even murdered?
To be honest, I would say that there is a very high chances that India would try their best to, to kill him or to remove him one way or the other. But India needs to understand the movements of freedom does not stop with killing one person. Although he's been the main backbone, but it will actually erupt more. It will cause more rebellions and more demand of freedom from the Sikhs if they will kill this young chap Amrit Pal Singh. He is an educated person. He's been intellectual. He's been abroad, so he's not like a person who's demanding a freedom, Khalistan freedom for nothing. He has studied his everything, and he has all the grounds and all the reasons to ask for the Khalistan. And on the other hand, politically they are getting very strong. Even if there will be election, and if they run for the election with any political party name, it will be big dent to the BJP and Aam Aadmi Party and other parties in Punjab and in Haryana and other provinces.
Now, Hamid, do you feel that the Khalistan movement is gaining momentum and that as the Sikh leaders are asking for that they will also try to put this up in the United Nations so that their referendum could be legalized? Do you feel legalization could be done without India's saying yes to it?
To be honest, it is a great effort and they are trying to do it, But as far as being positive that it would be legalized or recognized by the United Nations, I have very much doubt about it because of the, again, we talk about the Indian American and other lobbies who are working in favor of Indian and Hindutva ideology. But I mean, this initiative has to be taken, and it will be a big alarming for the rest of the world as well. That it is not only the human rights crisis in Kashmir, and they are not only oppressing the Kashmiris, they are also oppressing the Sikhs within India. And we have seen, the farmer protest last year, and what happened. How did they, deal with the Indian Sikhs, particularly during that long-standing protest? So, I mean, it will be a very much eye opener for the rest of the world, and it will not be easy for India to put everything under the carpet. They have to be answerable, whatever human rights violations they are doing across India against their minorities, whether it is Muslims, is Christians, or Sikhs.
Hamid, I understand that Amritpal Singh is a young chap, but what is the main reason for his popularity among the Sikh community?
To be honest, there are two big reasons. One, he has openly talked about the unfair treatment to the Sikh community for the last 40 years. He has been talking about the discrimination of Sikhs due to their religion. He's been talking about the unfair treatment of the Indian civil servants, Indian government, Indian state with the Sikhs. And second reason is that the youth has understood that, I mean, they have been suppressed for many years, and the youth is more aware because of the knowledge what they have been delivered, that how they divided the Sikhs in past, how they divided the Sikh communities in past to be able to control all the Sikh majority provinces, whether it was Haryana, Punjab, and why did they divided such a big province just to be able to have a state control on it. So I think the awareness and the great, I should say, explanation of atrocities against Sikhs are the biggest reason of Amritpal Singh's popularity.
All right, now coming from the Amritpal Singh's popularity to the reaction that is coming from the Indian government, whether it be in the form of, calling up the Canadian High Commissioner, whether it be calling the British High Commissioner, whether it be also doing the internet shutdowns as we have seen in Punjab. Do you feel the tactics such as these are going to curtail this movement that the Sikhs are moving forward with?
To be honest, there is a big difference between this movement and Kashmiri's movement. Kashmiri's movement is more within the Kashmir region in Jammu and Kashmir, where 8 million Kashmiris are fighting for their freedom. But this movement would not be able to curtail because it is run by the Sikhs across the world who are very well settled, who are in the governments of Canada and in other, even in Britain, Sikhs are very much strong and popular, and they have their influence in the governments as well. So I would say that it will not be easy for India to curtail this or to be to be able to stop this movement. Yes, there is only one thing which world has to ask, that why India is doing that. Now India has to be answerable for their atrocities against all the minorities. And let me tell you one thing. The good thing about Sikhs, I have been working with them and studied that their unity, their way of working. If anything happens in London, there are protests in Canada, Vancouver, everywhere, in Sydney, everywhere. So if India will try to, curtail this movement, it would not be that easy for India. Rather, Indian government has to sit and do the table talk with them. And to be honest, I believe that the creation of Khalistan is the ultimate result. It is going to be happen. It is going to be happen. And I have said in many programs that we will have a different neighbor. World says you can't change the neighbor. Yes, in shape of Khalistan, we will have a new neighbor rather than a fascist neighbor like India.
All right, now, that only time will tell, Hamid, to be very frank. But this said, there are so many different movements that are gaining momentum in India, and the Khalistan movement is just one of them. There are more than 10 movements as we speak within India. Do you feel that India is to blame for the gaining of momentum of these movements that includes the Khalistan movement?
Of course, definitely. I mean, it is. It is the way they have made laws only to the favoring to the Hinduism and Hindus to ideology. It is because of when they bring the citizen bill, or whether they advocate Article 370 35A, whether they talk about the Operation Blue Star in Amritsar, everything is related and everything goes towards the extreme policies of Hindutva BJP government, who has no margin for any other minorities, and they keep marginalizing the minorities, whether it is Sikhs, whether it is Christians, Buddhists, or Hindus, or or Muslims. The only one thing I want world to understand, and that is that India has become an extreme right wing fascist state. And when the country's policy is that, when the state policy is to support the extremist ideology, then there is a definitely rise of freedom movements. There is no doubt about it that the minorities will rise up for their right of self determination or right of being an independent states.
I'd like to refer to what the Indian Ministry for External Affairs said to the Canadian government. He said, and I quote what they have said: "It is expected that the Canadian government will take all steps which are required to ensure the safety of our diplomats and security of our diplomatic premises, so that they are able to fulfill their normal diplomatic functions." Why are they so afraid? This was just a protest, wasn't it?
This is what they are trying to portray in the world, that perhaps Sikhs have been violent inside the embassies. No, it was a simple protest, and it was a protest to the right place, that in front of Indian High Commission, because India is the country who needs to give them the freedom, and who
I
understand
totally
to
agree with you,
recognize the.
Hamid. We have to cut you short. Thank you so very much to have joined us. Hamid Khan Al-Mashtiki, analyst, joining us, discussing the rise of this movement, the Khalistan movement, by the Sikh community across the world. We've now been joined by Gurcharan-Singh from Dal-Khalsa. Thank you very much, Gurcharan-Singh, to have joined us. I'd like to understand the popularity that Amritpal Singh is gaining with every passing day. What makes this young man so popular?
I think what you have to understand is, in terms of as a nation, what we are facing is genocide, and the current situation dictates that the situation needs leaders who can confront a fascist regime. And in terms of India, what we are facing, there could be no doubt that there is an onslaught of fascism, which has a single agenda, and that's to exterminate Sikhism entirely. Because for Hindutva, as a political ideology, to completely become dominant throughout India, Sikhs are the biggest. Sikhs are the biggest hurdle in front of Hindutva, and the only way Hindutva can move forward is by removing the Sikhs. So it is not that Amritpal as such, as an individual, but the timing, and I think what Amritpal has done is brought the urgency of the situation into the mindset of the entire Sikh nation, and the Sikh nation has understood that it's not just it's not about Amritpal. What the Sikhs are facing is genocide at the hands of a fascist regime.
Gurcharan-Singh, why is India so afraid of the Sikhs and their protests? I was just talking to another guest of mine, and I was telling him how the Indians are reacting and how the little quote-unquote communique that they have sent to the Canadians says that they are asking the Canadians that all steps will be taken to ensure the safety of our diplomats and security of diplomatic premises. The Sikhs are protesting. They are not vandalizing, or they are not, destroying the property, are they? But why is this level of fear amongst the Indians or the Indian government?
I think what you have to understand is ideological basis of the Indian regime is based on the caste system. And Guru Nanak's ideology is the biggest threat to that. And the demographics of India dictate that Sikhism as an ideology is seen as a positive throughout various parts of the Indian region. And Sikhism is a civilization-changing ideology. And the problem with that is, if Sikhs are allowed to succeed any shape, way, or form politically anywhere in the world, they see it as a threat to the basis, the fundamental basis of their civilization, which says the caste system. Guru Nanak's ideology is a mortal threat, existential threat to the caste system and Brahmanism as a whole. And those are the fears and what the world really need to understand from the current situation and the behavior. You see, when we are talking in terms of fascism, stupidity and fascism come hand in hand. And I think we are seeing physical examples of that. When a fascist regime gets triggered and behaves like a mad dog on steroids, the main reason that is happening is because their ideology has completely failed, and the people within the occupied territories of the Indian Union have completely rejected the caste system. It is for the world to realize the reality of this so-called union or this so-called state is completely empty to a degree that the main opposition leader Rahul himself has been thrown in jail and is being thrown out of the parliament. The reason the situation is as such is because they are moving towards the final phase of implementation of Hindutva as a political ideology, and those ideas, to implement them, they need Sikhs out of the way.
Last question to you. You're talking of the implementation of the Hindutva policy by the Indian government. We also see the clamps on internet in the Punjab region because to curtail the rise of Amritpal Singh. Do you fear an operation such as the Operation Blue Star by the Indian Army in the coming weeks, the way this Indian reaction to the rise of Amritpal Singh and the Khalistan movement is gaining momentum?
I think people need to understand that the military operations in Punjab, they were planned 3 years ago. They were planned under the tutelage of the ex-BBC, Vipin Rawat. And shortly after those plans were sanctioned through his office, through his signatures, and we have released those documents on our website from Dal-Khalsa UK. Those operations were sanctioned by the BBC, and soon after, we all saw his demise. And I think what people need to understand that this is not limited to a single person. What Amritpal has done, his achievement has been because he's been openly confronting a genocidal government for its policies. And he has become a symbol. He has become a symbol of hope and morale and mobilization globally now. That I think the idea that the Sikhs in general accept that the probability is that he has already been killed by the Indian state. He's been martyred by the Indian state. And as the situation unfolds, as we will see it, the biggest, I think, it is more sinister in terms, if you want to compare it to 84. But this is a much bigger, because what they want to do is ethnic cleansing at house to house, and this is an operation to wipe out Sikhs completely from India. They want a variation of Hinduized Sikhs only, a subservient and slave and caste worshipping variation of Sikhism, which they want to keep, which they can use and throw away as they like. Now, the position which the Indian Army is in a very precarious situation at the moment, because when CDC Vipin Rawat issued the orders of operations in Punjab, he actually his actual demands were they needed more than 200,000 soldiers to actually invade Punjab. But the reality is the Indian Army is in pieces. The Indian Army is collapsing. The Indian Army is engaged on the Sikkim border, engaged on the Arunachal border, engaged on the Himachal border, on Ladakh, and obviously on Kashmir and Punjab as well. There is no personnel. The world must understand, and especially in terms of Pakistan, they must understand the precarious situation which India is find itself in. Because the CDC himself wanted more than 200,000 soldiers. Only thing they can conjure up is 18,000. So the reality today is that India does not have the manpower. That is why there is so much fear. The fear is this: the internet blockout is for a reason, and that is to control information, because people are already mobilized. People are already mobilized in Punjab, and if the situation and the reality comes out, well, sooner or later it is going to come out. These 18,000 soldiers are just going to be lambs to the slaughter. They are not going to be Punjab. They are all.
I totally understand, Gurcharan-Singh, your point of view, and I hope that the point has gone across to all the viewers as well, as far as the movement by the Sikh community for the establishment of Khalistan is concerned. And this movement comes as a result of the decades of inadequacies that have been pointed towards the Sikh community. They have not been given their due rights in India, the reaction of which is this Khalistan movement. Thank you very much, Gurcharan-Singh from Dal-Khalsa, to have joined us. Our second segment of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Islamophobia. We've been talking many a times about it, but what is happening is that in certain countries across the world, there is a consistent movement in this very regard to defame Islam and to desecrate holy books such as the Holy Quran. This has recently happened again in Denmark, where the Holy Quran was desecrated, was burnt. Along with that was the Turkish flag also that was burnt. Where is Islamophobia going? How is the reaction coming from the different countries across the world, especially the Muslim states? More in the following report.
In a world marred by xenophobic and far-right political doctrines, emergence of Islamophobia depicts most dangerous phenomenon of contemporary world. The need to respect religious symbols and to avoid incitement and polarization is more significant than ever to defeat forces destabilizing global security in contravention of human and moral values and principles. In another Islamophobic incident, far-right anti-Muslim group Patriotsvingr in Denmark, a live broadcast footage on Facebook of supporters carrying banners with Islamophobic messages as they burn a copy of Holy Quran and the Turkish flag in front of Turkish embassy in Copenhagen. The Turkish Foreign Ministry denounced the incident as a hate crime, adding that it would never accept such vile actions being allowed under the guise of freedom of expression. Muslim nations are raising alarm about rising tide of Islamophobia and strongly denounced dreadful act of extremist group. Muslim countries are urging Danish authorities to take action against those responsible and to ensure further incidents do not happen that threaten social harmony and peaceful coexistence. The incident is the latest in the series of anti-Islam acts that have taken place in Denmark in recent months, and there is dire need to consolidate the values of dialogue, tolerance, and respect and reject everything that would spread hatred, extremism, and exclusion.
Now, as far as Islamophobia is concerned, this wave against Islam, against the Muslim religion, against the Muslim community has been going on for quite some time. But this is particularly happening in the European Union. We've seen specifically in countries such as Denmark, where we are seeing the desecration of the Holy Quran, the burning of the Holy Quran, and other such anti-Islam statements that are emanating from certain quarters. Although countries such as Denmark say that it is part of their right to free speech or freedom of expression, there needs to be a limit as far as the free speech or freedom of expression is concerned, where it does not hurt the sentiments of a huge more than 2 billion Muslim community across the world, and specifically not to tarnish the image of any holy book, whether it be the Holy Quran or any other book. This is a specific campaign against Islam and against Muslims that has been highlighted time and again by our government in Pakistan on different fora as to curtail all such elements that are trying to defame Islam, defame Muslims. We are also seeing that happening in our not so friendly neighborhood country of India, where on social social media, there have been countless examples of how India is also trying to propagate on social media the whole concept of Islamophobia or the fear of Islam, and the way they are reacting to it is not only undemocratic, but it is also against any norms of religion whatsoever. Now, the reaction from different Islamic countries has come as a result of this desecration of the Holy Quran, the burning of the Turkish flag that happened on Friday. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was the first one that has condemned the burning of the Quran and the Turkish flag by these extremists in Denmark. It was joined by other Muslim countries as well, such as Jordan, Kuwait and Qatar, that spoke out against this act by these extremists. They said that the actions provoke hatred against Muslims, specifically during the holy month of Ramzan. Now, far-right anti-Muslim group Nagar live broadcast this footage on Facebook, in which they were desecrating our holy book, that is the Holy Quran, and they were also carrying banners with Islamophobic messages while they were burning our holy book and also the Turkish flag. The Turkish Foreign Ministry has also denounced this incident as a hate crime. It has added that it will never accept any such vile action that is being allowed under the guise of freedom of expression, quote unquote. This was said by the daily newspaper from Turkey, Daily Sabah. Also, the ministry in Turkey has called on the Danish authorities to take action against all those who are responsible for this vile act and to ensure further incidents did not happen that threaten social harmony as well as peaceful coexistence. And that is extremely important in this day and age when there's so many conflicts that are going on in this world, and this whole Islamophobia is adding to the fire, and it is a huge flame that is slowly and steadily engulfing not only the non-Muslim community but also the Muslim community as a result. This misinterpretation of the religion and the deliberate manner in which there is a defaming of our holy book and our religion points only towards one direction, is that there is specific targeting of the Muslim community and of the religion of Islam without understanding what Islam stands for. And Islam stands for peace, Islam stands for harmony and coexistence. It has always respected all the other religions, and that has been demonstrated on many occasions by our Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he also at different occasions he has never killed anybody from any other religion, nor he has purposely or deliberately tried any such action against the non-Muslim community. In fact, he has given them all kinds of assurances and respect as far as per our religion, that also gives that respect to every single human being, whether he or she be a Muslim or a non-Muslim. Talking about the other reactions that have come from the Muslim world, the Jordanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and expatriate spokesperson Sinan Majali also said that this act incited hate and racism. He said, quote unquote, burning the Holy Quran is a serious act of hate and a manifestation of Islamophobia that incites violence and insults to religions and cannot be considered as a form of expression or freedom of expression at all. The statement also urges the Danish authorities to prevent a repeat of such actions that fuel violence and hatred and threaten peaceful coexistence. But the fact remains that this has happened in Denmark for quite some time now. This is not the first time that we are seeing or observing one such incident as well. There have been countless incidents in the past as well, and the Danish authorities have a certain point of view that does not coincide with peaceful coexistence maybe, or the understanding of religions such as Islam, and there is no law or no such stoppage of such incidents from happening in Denmark. Now, the Kuwaiti Foreign Ministry also in a statement has warned that the burning of the Quran risked provoking an angry backlash from Muslims across the world. They also called for the perpetrators to be held accountable, and they said it should be made sure that freedom of expression is not used to offend Islam or any other religion. Also, the brotherly Islamic country of Qatar has also condemned in the strongest terms the burning of the copy of the Quran. It has warned that the latest incident represents a dangerous escalation of incidents that targets the Muslims and the Muslim community. The Qatari Ministry of Foreign Affairs also said that the burning of the Holy Quran under the claim of freedom of expression threatens the value of peaceful coexistence and reveals abhorrent double standards. The ministry has also reaffirmed Qatar's rejection of all forms of hate speech based on belief, race, or religion. It has also called on the international community to reject the hatred, the discrimination, incitement and violence, underlining the importance of upholding the principles of dialogue and mutual understanding. But this is what Islam, our religion, always says: dialogue, mutual understanding, understanding other religions. Nobody has forced any other to accept Islam. In fact, it is because of the values of our religion that many people, many thousands, millions, billions have accepted this religion as their own. As we speak, there are new convertees that are accepting Islam because of the values that it stands for, not because of the values that people in Denmark stand for, while they burn the Holy Quran and they desecrate also the flag of a brotherly country that is Turkey. I hope the Danish government understands, although looking at the incidents in the past, we haven't seen much reaction from the Danish government from all these incidents that have happened in their country as well. What can we say? We have to highlight this, and we will continue to highlight Islamophobia as it happens, whenever it happens, and we will continue to fight against this. Let's come to our last two stories, ladies and gentlemen. The first concerns COVID, as COVID-19 has claimed a life in the province of Sindh. This has been said by the National Institute of Health. The positivity ratio has gone up to 2.52%. Last week on Friday, we did mention that Islamabad and Karachi were the two cities that were the most, which had the most cases as far as COVID-19 is concerned. What you need to do is to follow the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. We said it many a times when COVID first erupted in Pakistan: following the SOPs, keeping a safe distance, washing your hands, wearing a mask in crowded places, and specifically in the holy month of Ramadan, you need to be extremely careful. Also, when you will have the congregation of Eid, you need to be very careful, wear a mask, and try to avoid as much of crowded places as possible. As many as 4,213 COVID tests were conducted in Pakistan. 413 were conducted in Lahore. 24 cases were confirmed with a ratio of 5.81%. 179 tests were conducted in Islamabad, out of which 10 cases reported, which also comes to 5.9% ratio. 36 cases confirmed from 551 tests in Karachi with a ratio of 6.53%. Our Health Minister Abdul Qadir Patel Saab says that the government has strengthened the role of the border and health services in Pakistan to deal with any subvariant of COVID-19. And this is what needs to be done. The more stringent you are, the less diseases or epidemics or pandemics such as COVID-19 will not spread. Our minister said the situation is completely under control, asked the general public to avoid paying heed to rumors. He said 90% of the country's population has already gotten the COVID-19 vaccine, and that is true. We've had many of our population, that has gone to the different centers and had itself vaccinated once, twice, or even more than twice, as in my case. I've done the 2 shots plus the 2 booster shots. So all you need to do is to follow the SOPs and to be careful, vigilant, so that it does not spread further. Our last story concerns illegal migration. We've been highlighting it quite for some time now because there have been incidents of boats capsizing and people dying because of this illegal migration. Now, Tunisia's Coast Guard has on Sunday confirmed the bodies of 29 migrants from African countries that had been recovered after 3 vessels capsized, which is of course the latest incident in this series of such tragedies. These series of shipwrecks come from the desire of so many migrants from across the world to go for a better life, to seek a better life, and this is why they choose the path of illegal migration. All those mafias that are also involved in illegal migration need to be curtailed in one way or the other, and all those who are trying to illegally migrate themselves to other countries also need to be made to understand that there are other possibilities, there are alternate solutions that they can take in order to make themselves a better life for them. Now, poverty, I understand, is one of the major reasons why people undergo illegal migration, but there's always a solution, and the world needs to come together. The United Nations and other international organizations also need to chalk out some kind of methodology so as to prevent such incidents from happening in the future. The deaths are happening, people are continuing for illegal migration. I hope the world listens to and understands and is more empathetic to the plight of these people. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.